Hello everyone, I'm Jabaria Scott, an online leadership coach and consultant, and I want to welcome you to Drive-By Conversations, the best place for new and emerging leaders who want help navigating challenging conversations in the workplace. Today's episode is part 2 in the series on how to improve workplace communication. As I mentioned in my previous video, ensuring good communication can be challenging when you're working across various departments within your company. This is especially true when a lot of different people are involved. And this is a problem because poor communication can cause confusion and stop progress. So the best way to improve workplace communication is to start by reviewing 3 common barriers to effective interdepartmental communication. The first barrier to effective workplace communication is hoarding knowledge and information. One of the things that I find very confusing is when departments or teams within the same organization withhold information from one another. In the end, everyone in the company works to serve customers and carry out the company's mission, vision, and values. Now, to be clear, I'm not referring to withholding confidential or protected information. I'm specifically talking about information that could be beneficial to others in achieving a collaborative project or interdepartmental goal. This hoarding of information doesn't serve anyone, and it often results in delayed projects, unmet deadlines, miscommunication, and failure to resolve key issues or concerns for important processes. Here are a few possible reasons for why people withhold or hide information. Number 1, they believe that it gives them an advantage over others. We can describe people who behave this way as being on a power trip because it's normally ego-driven. People who think this way tend to be self-centered, and they often don't think about how their actions may ultimately harm the organization. And while this may initially appear to be an advantage, needlessly withholding information delays progress, and it has a way of catching up with people in the end. The second reason why people withhold information is because they just aren't committed to the vision. When employees aren't committed to the vision and they aren't able to identify with the part that they play in accomplishing the goal, this results in a noticeable lack of buy-in. To learn more about how to get staff buy-in when sharing your vision, take a look at my video on how to communicate your 2021 vision for leadership. I share more details in there on this topic. I'll make sure and leave the link for you in the description box below. Information hoarding leads to feelings of disempowerment due to limited access to information. No one wants to feel like they're being prevented from doing their jobs productively. This will kill teamwork and office morale. In a 2016 People Management blog entitled "The Dangers of Knowledge Hoarding," taken from blog idonethis.com, Georgia Parfit discusses the negative impact that workplace information hoarders can have within organization. She wrote that this is a drag in pace and productivity that you can't afford. She also said that this points to a deeper problem. If people aren't able to access information in their own time, they can't get as much work done. And she's absolutely right. This often leads to frustration and on-the-job resentment and workplace stagnation. The second barrier to effective workplace communication is emotional barriers and language barriers to communicating. Our emotional state has the ability to impact how we communicate no matter who we are or where we are. But this is something that we want to be especially mindful of when we're at work. If we're feeling angry, upset, or preoccupied, how we feel can affect our communication. Our emotional state can have both positive and negative effects on how we perform at work. The key is to become self-aware in a way that helps us to effectively manage our emotions. An important part of self-awareness in leadership is that it's important to recognize an emotion for what it is. By acknowledging the emotion instead of dismissing it, we have an opportunity to remind ourselves that what we're feeling is temporary. And this enables us to appropriately manage that emotion. This also gives us a chance to consider the desired outcome. When we aren't aware of how we're feeling, we're less aware of how it can affect the way that we communicate and how others view us. This sometimes leads to some uncomfortable situations that you might regret later. This can also take on the characteristics of things like misplaced pride or ego or fear or uncertainty or anger. You get the drift. These are just a few of the things that might affect how we communicate, and they can impact how we interact with others. Language barriers may also impact how effectively we communicate. Sometimes we use language that causes the message to be miscommunicated or misinterpreted. This happens when there's a misalignment between what was shared and what was understood. The truth is that miscommunication will happen from time to time. That's normal. But the best thing to do is to try to clear things up as soon as possible. It may also be a good idea to include an impartial third party to help mediate and clarify things if additional assistance is needed. Click the like button if you know that language barriers can lead to huge misunderstandings. The third barrier to effective workplace communication is establishing the appropriate flow of communication. It's important to establish a consistent flow of communicating during any collaborative project. Some teams use a top-down communication method where the communication will flow from the executive team down to employees, while other people prefer to use a bottom-up approach or even a flat collaborative approach. In the bottom-up approach, direct reports are allowed to provide input on projects and initiatives, and they're later shared with upper management. And the reverse is true for top-down. The challenge occurs when the same approach is used for disseminating information on all occasions, no matter what's going on. Some situations call for employee feedback based on end-user experience or day-to-day customer interactions. This is because individual contributors have a unique perspective on the product or service and customer needs and concerns, as well as daily operations. Other times, it is necessary to make decisions at the top and filter them down to be carried out. Here are some questions to ask to make sure a determination on which communication method is best for you and your team. Number 1. Do you have a clear view of potential barriers or obstacles to the plan? Number 2. Does this discussion need to be made at the executive level for a particular business operation standpoint? Number 3. Would employee input or buy-in be useful to this discussion or decision-making process? Let me know in the comments if there's another workplace barrier to effective communication that you can think of that I haven't mentioned. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to watch part 1 in this series and share it with a colleague or a friend. The link is in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so that you'll know when I post more videos just like this one. As always, have a great week, be kind to yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.